Directed and co-written by Joseph Kahn. We are talking ICK. And no, this is not a movie about Gen Z dating situations. This is more like ADHD the movie. And this one stars Brandon Routh and one-time Superman. Here he is leading this charge in this horror comedy. You've also got Minu Suvari and Jeff Fahey starring in the movie, among others, of course. So, what is this film about? The best way to describe it is if you take the kind of style of film of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but you transpose that in the storyline of the Blob remake. That's pretty much a movie. Maybe it's a little bit more like the movie Splinter, but I suspect less people have seen that. So this takes place in a kind of, American West town somewhere. And Brandon Routh's character is a, one-time school jock who, due to an injury, has kind of fallen on hard times and is now a science teacher in this high school. But this town seems to have this sort of viral fungal kind of growth that appears everywhere, and people just kind of ignore it. And it's been happening for absolutely ages. And now in this high school, there's this young girl called Grace, and Brandon Routh's character Hank suspects that she might actually be his daughter, with the Minu Suvari character back when they were high school graduates themselves. However, this town soon comes under attack through this kind of fungal infection that sort of springs to kind of life and starts attacking people out of the blob. And as people are going to get picked off, this infection seems to be able to control certain people and consume others. And their only defense is UV light. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So, let us discuss. If you don't like slow burn movies, if you don't like lots of kind of like dialogue and things like that, this is the movie for you. As I say, ADHD, the movie. This is a kind of deliberately breakneck paced movie, I suspect, really playing to a Gen Z audience. And there's actually a little bit of commentary on the Gen Z perspective, along with a variety of kind of social and political issues, only in kind of very short sort of snapshot bites, however, because that is the theme here. Is obviously it's very short, sharp, attention-grabbing headlines without much kind of context, and that's the sort of how this movie is filmed. Now, it's not going to be for everyone, this style of film, but I will say it does give it a certain stylistic choice that gives it a kind of a flavour to itself. Very, very quick edits, very kind of a breakneck pace, lots of kind of like little vignettes here and there of like kind of jokes and little snippets of sort of social commentary and things delivered by kind of like, knowingly kind of stereotypical characters and kind of situations. There are some stuff which is kind of quite amusing, and because of the way this movie is with its ADHD themed kind of style of filmmaking here, it's a very sort of fast-paced movie in a lot of ways. A lot of things kind of going on. It doesn't really kind of spend too much time on things like characterization or anything like that, but if you want just to kind of get straight to the action and have lots of kind of like set pieces and things like this, and quick kind of like situations that are dealt with very sort of swiftly, check it out. The movies, I have to say, I did sort of quite enjoy the finale of this movie. I do think it has quite an exciting finale that genuinely I think is quite thrilling in many ways, I have to say. I will say, even though this movie deliberately doesn't spend too much time with characterization for a lot of the people here, a lot of the people in this movie, I do think I quite like Brandon Routh's kind of somewhat kind of likeable science teacher, one-time kind of jock. Again, he gets the most characterization out of anyone here, and you know, and it's kind of fun having these sort of 2000 era kind of flashbacks along with the kind of all the music and stuff from that kind of period. So, you know, it's kind of quite fun in some ways. Obviously, other characters I do think suffer, and we'll come on to that again. But yeah, Brandon Routh, just through, I think, natural kind of like likability and charisma, still manages to kind of make a kind of a likable character here. And even though her character I didn't think was particularly well developed, his potential daughter, this character Grace, I do think, you know, she still comes across quite well on screen as well, and actually generally has quite a good kind of chemistry with Brandon Routh's character. So that I sort of quite liked. The movie is quite VFX heavy. Now, I think they've actually had a little bit of a cheat to try and make these VFX look better than they actually are, but we'll talk about it again in a minute. But nonetheless, there's some quite extensive kind of VFX shots that very much will remind you of the Blob remake. And, you know, there's not a movie that's kind of pulling back on not showing you anything. This ICK is all out there for everyone to see, and at times I do think it's, you know, it's quite effective and looks pretty cool. And like I say, there's you know, large kind of body count in here, and lots of kind of set pieces involving how it's kind of attacking people and things like this. The movie is a horror comedy. There are some kind of funnier moments here, and because of the fast-paced nature of it, you know, it picks up on the next joke, so it never kind of lingers too long on anything sort of for too long. Let's talk about what doesn't work, and let's kind of stay with the VFX here. Now, the movie writes this kind of like alien, viral, fungal creature, or whatever it is, to really only be active at night. Now, this is a story point in the movie, but the crux of how it plays out is that we only ever see this thing in sort of low light, which means I think it is hiding the VFX. Now, it's not obviously a massive budget movie, and I think they're trying to kind of get around some of the cheaper VFX by having these kind of, you know, fungal creature, monster thing, whatever it is, be mostly active at night in the dark, to hide some probably patchy CGI work, which I think it probably does do, and I think you can probably watch this movie's VFX without kind of like being out, you know, like picking too many holes in it. Yes, it looks CGI, but I think for the most part they actually do a fairly good job in hiding the kind of the budget, probably because obviously most of the VFX shots are shot at night. However, this movie is quite dark at times because of it, and you actually fail to see really what's going on, particularly in the kind of where these kind of like blob-like fungal creature is attacking people. It's actually hard to make out what's going on, who's kind of getting pulled apart and things like that. You know, and again, it's sort of obscuring the sort of the gore and things like this. So I feel that might be a little bit disappointing for some. Like, don't get me wrong, you do see quite a lot of it. It's just that it's always in kind of low light for the most part. So yeah, that was a little bit of a frustration. Now, the style of the movie, I think, will also be a frustration for some. I say this is clearly trying to speak to the Gen X experience, and having these kind of quick, short vignettes without having to kind of like make people pay too much attention to kind of what's going on until it kind of moves on to the next screen. So again, maybe this is more of a generational thing here, but I do feel maybe this movie is trying to appeal and certainly trying to speak to younger people who have more that mindset. But maybe for people who are a little older, they might find this kind of you know, caffeine-fueled explosive breakneck pace a little bit kind of on the nauseating side, I have to say. As I've mentioned, I think the movie sort of lacks a little bit in characterization, maybe with the exception of the Brandon Routh and possibly even the daughter Grace, or the potential daughter. But there are certain characters here. Mina Suvari's character, I think, is you know, she doesn't really get much kind of work done onto her husband. There's these two other kind of like teenagers, this goth girl and this kind of heavy metal guy that seem to get like a lot of screen time, but you feel like you really don't know them. They're just kind of there, and you know, another kind of like B plot that we're kind of following, but we never really know anything about them, to be honest with you. So yeah, the movie kind of lacks a little bit of depth, you might say. The movie also doesn't really go too much into kind of the kind of the world about what's actually kind of happening here. It really only focuses on this kind of small town, while sort of hinting that this is kind of more of a, certainly at least a countrywide kind of situation, without really kind of giving you any answers about what's caused it, what's happening, is this the kind of like an apocalyptic event, things like this. And as I say, it's throwing a lot of kind of like cultural and political kind of comments and things like that here and there. Some people might not enjoy the kind of the very quick fire social commentary that this movie's trying to throw there. Like I said, it never really dwells on it, but this certainly has that in its kind of DNA here. And I say, just the general style of film here is, I feel, will be less appealing to some more so than others. Overall, it's a fun, enjoyable flick to a large degree. I actually had a little bit of fun with it. I do think the ending is fairly strong. I do like Brandon Routh in this movie, and although I don't think this is a brilliant film, I would say I would give it a slightly above average score of 6, because I do feel it has enough entertainment value, even though I think this movie is trying to have its kind of own voice, which I feel excludes others potentially. So yeah, a 6 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What were your thoughts? Please do let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.